Welcome to Missing and Not Forgotten, the official podcast of the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency. I'm Sean Everett, DPAA's Media Relations Lead and your host. Thank you for joining us. Marine Captain Ronald Forrester was the bombardier navigator of an A-6A Intruder who went missing when his plane disappeared during a nighttime combat mission over the northern part of North Vietnam in December 1972. After decades of searching, Captain Forrester was identified and accounted for in December 2023 and buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery on October 7th, 2024. Over our last two episodes, I spoke with Kearney Forrester, Captain Forrester's daughter, and two of our recovery team leaders, Army Captains Dave Kim and Will Ryan, who led the teams that found Captain Forrester. On this episode, our guest is Blake Ayala, one of the archaeologists who worked to find our missing service members and worked to find Captain Forrester. Welcome, Blake. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Before we really dive into everything, tell me a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. My name's Blake Ayala, and I'm from Savannah, Georgia. I'm a archaeologist, and I've been working in the field of archaeology for nearly 2 decades now.
Just curious, why archaeology?
Oh man, I've always been fascinated as a little kid with history. Instead of getting regular, stories, children's stories growing up, my dad would always read me, historic fiction novels that he enjoyed reading, and so that was kind of my bedtime stories as a kid growing up. So I just kind of naturally gravitated toward history as I got older.
I did the same thing with my kids, and my kids are very interested in history too, so that's pretty cool. We've been talking over the last couple of episodes about Captain Ronald Forrester. What is your connection to him?
So I was out on the 23 3VN mission where during the excavations at the site where Ronald Forrester's remains were recovered, I was the scientific recovery expert in charge of that excavation at that time when we recovered his gas card, kind of confirmed his presence at that site, which was a big deal at that time because we still hadn't received any notification that we had his remains in the laboratory yet. So that was a really big deal and a big win for the agency, and I'm sure it was for family as well.
What was that like when you all are sitting there sifting through all this dirt and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, that's a credit card. That shouldn't be here. And then it has Ron Forrester's name on it. What was that like?
Oh man, so at that point in time, I was actually down at the excavation pit overseeing all the activities that were going on there, making sure, shoveling, stuff like that was going well. It was really hot during that day. And I get a call over the handheld radio that we all carry because the screening station was set up a little bit further away from where the excavation units were located. And I just get this call from the radio that I needed to come over to the screening station immediately. And whenever I looked over there, I could see a bunch of people just like waving their arms. So I go over there and I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be pretty good. I wonder what it is. And my team leader actually came up to me and just handed me the fragment of the gas card, and he goes, "Look what it is." And I look at it, and sure enough, it was a gas card where you could make out the last name Forrester on there. I think, as I recall, it was actually missing the F, but it had the rest of the letters, and immediately knew that this was Ronald Forrester's gas card. On the back you could see where it was from, and the company in Texas. And Forrester is not a traditional name you find in Central Vietnam either. So I was pretty confident that it was Captain Forrester. So that was honestly, it was super exciting. Everyone on our team was excited. The local workers were excited. Our host nation Vietnam officials that were with us were very ecstatic as well. And so there was just an overwhelming joy at the site that day. It was really awesome.
I bet. I mean, it's given me chills a little bit just listening to you talk about it and the feeling and emotion that you have with that. Now, have you ever had a chance to meet or talk to any of Ron Forrester's family?
Unfortunately, I have not. I was actually out on another mission in Papua New Guinea when Kearney visited the DPA facilities, and she did a tour, stuff like that, but she actually left me a really nice note at my desk that I actually still have up in my cubicle where I work underneath a picture of Captain Forrester that I have there for every mission that I go out on for whoever we're going after. I try and put a picture up so that way as I'm trying to work, it reminds me, who we're after. And so I've got that note from her like up underneath his portrait that I had in my cubicle.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Now, you are a scientific recovery expert. What is that? What does that mean? And what do you do on the recovery missions like the ones where we found Captain Forrester?
It's an excellent question, Sean. So a scientific recovery expert is an individual from the DPA laboratory who goes out onto these recovery missions or investigation teams. And we are the individuals that are responsible for all the scientific integrity of the excavations that occur while we're out on mission. And so when you look at an organic DPA team, we're kind of, there's like a leadership tripod. You've got your military team leader, you've got your team sergeant, and then you have the scientific recovery expert. So the three of us kind of make up the three-headed monster, if you will, when we're in the field. And our responsibilities really don't truly start until we step foot on an archaeological site. At that point, we take over as the leaders in the field, and we guide all the excavation activities, monitor all the screening activities, and we're really the ones for the overall scientific integrity of these archaeological sites.
Now, when I think of archaeology, I think of, Pompeii, Herculaneum, the ancient Egypt, places like that. How does archaeology, how is it the same or different on a more modern site like in Vietnam or in Papua New Guinea?
Ooh, that's another fantastic question. Unlike archaeology in especially like old world, even new world archaeology, where, traditionally I think people think of archaeology where we have our trowels and our brushes and we're very meticulous, and we're excavating centimeter by centimeter. We do that for these missions, depending on whenever we actually hit features and stuff like that. But for traditional archaeology, you're kind of digging into an unknown to figure out what's happening at a location. For archaeology at DPAA, we actually already know the how. We know that there is a plane crash here. And so really when we're conducting our excavations, it's a lot more robust. We have over, at times over 100, 120 individuals working on a site at a time. So it's a lot for us to manage, and we're moving a lot of soil at a Herculean pace compared to traditional archaeological excavations that you kind of see on TV. We'll really try to move as much as we can because we only have an infinite amount of time to be at these locations, and we want to try and do as much as possible in that time frame. So that's how it's a little bit different than your traditional archaeological excavation.
Gotcha. And how much time do you all usually have on one of these recovery missions?
It can really vary, especially, with what's going on in certain countries, holidays, weather can play a factor, but traditionally we try to have at least, between 30 to maybe 45 working days on a site, if possible. A lot of times it can be a lot less. Granted, whenever we go to these countries, it's not always the time of year. Sometimes we hit a lot of rainy weather. Sometimes we're just Sometimes we're just unable to get as much time on the site as we would like. But that's kind of the average amount of time that we have whenever we deploy.
Okay. And we kind of alluded to this a little bit with mentioning Papua New Guinea, but do the scientific recovery experts, do you only do missions in Vietnam or do you work cases from other conflicts as well?
We do cases from a lot of other conflicts. We do cases from starting in World War II, going all the way up through Gulf War period. Actually, there was one of our coworkers was in the Persian Gulf actually for a case just last year. And so we travel all over the world, Europe, Southeast Asia, the South Pacific, anywhere where there has been U.S. losses since World War II. We go and we try and recover those missing.
All right. Well, Blake, that's really all of the questions that I have for you. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or that you wanted to say that maybe we didn't touch on?
I mean, I think you did a really great job covering what we do as SREs and my affiliation with the Captain Forrester case. And so, no, sir.
All right. Well, Blake, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I know that our listeners do too. So thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again at some point in the future.
Hey, perfect. Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate the opportunity, and you have a great one.
Without Blake and our many other amazing archaeologists, we at DPAA would not be able to accomplish our mission of bringing home our missing. Thanks again, Blake, for being on the show. And for our listeners, thank you for the many compliments you all have sent our way since we began the show. We appreciate you spending your time with us on Missing and Not Forgotten, the official podcast of the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency.